Hello, everyone, and welcome to Growing Together, a gardening podcast with me, John Lamb, and Don Kinsler, a lifelong gardener and the North Dakota State University Extension horticulturalist for Cass County. Today's show is sponsored by Heirloom Roses. Visit them online at heirloomroses.com. Don, how you doing today? We're into
great.
July.
Into July.
And it doesn't really feel like it.
You know, it doesn't.
I'm not complaining about that, but it doesn't.
No, because I've enjoyed the growing season up to this point, and as long as we mentioned roses, gosh, the roses have been beautiful this year. I think they've enjoyed the cooler weather that we had in June, and they've bloomed really, really nice. And I can't believe we're at this point in July. But yeah, gosh, I'm enjoying it. The long days, man, the growth that we see on annual flowers, vegetables in response to these long days. So I'm enjoying this point in July.
It's really great. And so we have a special guest here today. Speaking of being able to go out and enjoy all the flowers and everything that's in our yard, Don, why don't you introduce our guest?
A big event coming up here in July, and the head of that event is Rachel Saylor. Now, I've known Rachel for a long, long time because Rachel, in addition to being the operations manager at Baker Garden and Gift in Fargo, is also one of our Cass County Master Gardeners. Now, the NDSU Cass County Master Gardener program has been in place for many, many years, 40 years approximately. And anyway, these master gardeners, such as Rachel, give back to the community. They're trained in all aspects of gardening and horticulture, and then in turn, they give back to the community in volunteering. And one of the wonderful ways that Rachel volunteers back into our community is last year, she conceived the idea of yard tours. The wonderful Red River Valley yard tours, garden tours. And so, Rachel, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you. Thanks.
Great. And tell us a little bit about your involvement with these Red River Valley garden tours.
Yeah. So I think a lot of gardeners will remember the Soroptimist tours that
I do.
Were in place for a number of years way back when. I remember when I was a little girl, my mom had her yard on that tour. So I remember looking out the window and seeing all the people in our yard during
Did you ever go on any of these, John?
No. Well, last year I went to a couple of the houses towards the end. Yeah, but
sure. And the Soroptimist tours, those were so popular for so many, many years.
Yeah.
And people love touring yards. And a little bit later, I'll tell some of the things I enjoyed these years. But it's so wonderful that you and a group have resurrected these.
Yeah, so I think it was just something that our community was missing, and so I think you build the community that you want, and so I emailed you, Don, and how can we make this happen? And so we got a committee together of master gardeners. There's 6 of us that meet once a month, and we share our ideas and problem solve our obstacles to get the tour done. And we had our first one last year, and the second one's coming up in just a couple weeks.
And that's really an NDSU Extension Master Gardener success story in that you guys, your committee of master gardeners, just took the bull by the horns and made last year's tour a success.
Yeah.
It was well attended and people really enjoyed. So now we're on the second year of this successful tour.
Yep, and already planning for the third. So
exactly. Well, let's start. Tell us the dates of those.
So the tour is
year's.
Wednesday and Thursday, July 17th and 18th from 1 until 7. The tickets get you entry for both days. If you need to come back and check anything out again, if you went the first day or if you can only attend one day, that's okay too. So good flexibility.
How many yards are on the tour?
5 homeowner yards, and then the ticket proceeds go to benefit the Northern Plains Botanic Garden Society, and so there's an open invitation to visit them as well, and they'll have some extra information about grape growing there this year too. So
great. Now, what is the ticket price?
$15 in advance if you purchase online. You can find those through our Facebook page, which will get you to Eventbrite to buy those tickets. Otherwise, we are offering day of tickets as well for $20.
And what's nice about these tours is even if you only have time or want to take your time really in these yards, you can visit part of them one day and part the second, can't you?
Yep. And that's why we structured it the way that we did with the 2 days.
Yeah, because that's what I did last year. I enjoyed, even though I'm on the committee, I enjoyed touring these. And so I did a couple one day and a couple the next day.
Yep.
So I like that flexibility. And I think tour attendees will also. So tell us again, how can people get tickets?
Yep. So if you go to our Facebook page, Red River Valley Garden Tour, there is a Facebook event there where they'll get you a link to the tickets. Otherwise, we're on Eventbrite. So if you did a Google search for Red River Valley Garden Tour, you would find us there.
And so now, as you mentioned, the proceeds for this go to a really worthy cause, the Northern Plains Botanic Garden Society.
Yes. Yep.
And the Northern Plains Botanic Garden is great. For anybody that hasn't been there, it's up in far north Fargo. And so simply do a Google search, Northern Plains Botanic
Garden. By the
Garden.
old Yunker Farm, right? Yeah.
Yep.
It is, yeah. And just absolutely awesome. And they've already developed so many beautiful things, towards the Japanese garden, and so many wonderful things already, and more yet to come. So what a great way to use these proceeds, the profits from this, to benefit them as well. So, We mentioned the important parts so far, the dates, the how to get your tickets, and the number of yards. What could people expect to see in these yards? Can you give us a little teaser, Rachel?
Yeah, so they're all different, which is fun. They all have unique features. I know one gardener, she has a koi pond and a turtle, so that's pretty cool to see how you can incorporate your garden, like a pond and a
wonder if the turtle will be visible that day, or will be.
He was
will it be shy
when we went and did our little pre-tour? So we'll see. One yard has a lot of antique farm equipment that she's gotten from her childhood home. She's incorporated that as kind of garden art.
That's one thing that's always fascinating to me. Okay, we love the plants, we love how they're designed, but it's fascinating to me the extras that people have put in that make their yards and landscapes and flower gardens unique.
Yeah. Yep.
And so, we can get some great ideas. Oh, so they've got like antique farm equipment?
Different plows and just different, even like hand tools or like a creamer
awesome.
thing. And I'm like, she hadn't planted any yet. So I wonder if she said she might before the tour. We went early in mid-June. Another garden, she got to go visit the Chelsea Garden Show in London. And
really? Wow.
One thing that they do is different container arrangements. So potted plants, but like in a, you kind of conceal the pot to make an arrangement. So she had made this kind of grandiose container with arrangement of different spring blooming perennials actually that were destined to be then planted into her yard. So I'm sure she'll have something else displayed in her Chelsea Garden Show inspired container. So I'm kind of excited to see what she does there. And then another one, she is really into the medicinal gardening and, herbalists and using different plants for different purposes. So everything has a purpose in her yard is kind of her mantra.
So that's going to be fun to see each of these 5 yards. It sounds like each one has something unique in it. Of course, all our yards have something unique in it. But these, of course, were specially selected. People apply, don't they, to have their yards included in this. Mm-hmm. And so it's awesome that these people have offered the rest of us to come and tour their yards. That's awesome.
Yep.
All right, let's take a quick little break. And when we come back, we're going to hear more about the Red River Valley Garden Tour.
When you can't make it to City Hall or school board meetings, local journalists from Inforum.com will be there to report the facts and get your questions answered. Local news works for you. Stay up to date at Inforum.com.
All right, we're back with Rachel Saylor, and we're talking about the Red River Valley Garden Tour. And so we talked about the when, which is July 17th and 18th from 1 to 7 p.m. And the where is kind of all about around the FM area. But we really don't. When will people find out? Because it's kind of like all the home shows. They never reveal the locations until the day of.
Right. So when you purchase your tickets online, you'll get an email to that a couple days before on July 15th with the addresses and a little map for the homeowner yards. And then if you want to buy your tickets the day of, a good place to do that would be the Northern Plains Botanic Garden. Unless you are already going with somebody who has a ticket and has those addresses, you could buy them at one of the homes as well.
And then, so you did this last year. Are there any houses that were on the tour from last year on this year?
Nope, all new yards. So our goal is to have new yards each year, at least for now.
And so that's part of the fun thing too, is that each year these are going to be unique yards. So it's not like once you've seen it, you're done.
Right.
So many of us will want to be seeing these every year.
Right.
And this is certainly expected to continue because of its success. And so the committee is already planning for 2025, aren't we?
Yep. We've got some yards penciled in for 2025 and a couple people that told us this year, maybe next year. So I'll be calling you.
You've got a list going.
Yep.
And that includes my own yard.
Yes.
I've got a few things.
Little teaser there.
Yes. And of course, it's interesting. Okay. I'm in the same boat too. Many of us think, oh gosh, my yard, I've got some weeds. I've got some things in it that aren't quite the way I want them.
I'm not done yet.
Exactly.
No gardener's ever done.
Yeah, mine isn't done yet. And so just a kind of a shout out to people who have yards that you're proud of. Consider being on this. You'll see information, invites to apply to have our yards on there. And of course, when I say apply, yards that have a broad appeal, to gardeners and et cetera. And so I need to get over the kind of hesitation that I feel about having my own yard on. So because it's fun to have a nice group of yards and unique each year. And so please, when you see the reach out, consider. Oh, the other thing I was going to mention, I'm always amazed. Sometime when you come up to a yard and the front yard looks nice, very nice, and sometimes in the backyard, it's wow. Some homeowners just develop their own private paradise, and it's amazing to be able to see these. And these garden tours are sometimes the only way, unless you're one of their neighbors that can peek over their fence, sometimes this is the only opportunity you might have to see some of those unique backyards.
Right.
And so that these tours offer something that you might not get to see otherwise.
Yeah, it allows people to be in there. They're invited to be a looky-loo a little bit. And I mean, the great thing is too, is you get a lot of inspiration from things like that. You get to see like, well, I like the way that those are paired, or those two work together, or they work well against that fence, or I never would have thought about that with that shade. And I suppose the other good thing too, from having it from 1 to 7, you could see it with the sun directly above, and then you can come back in late afternoon and you can see, okay, well, how does it look now? So that's really kind of a nice thing there too.
Oh, and there's so much that we can learn from these garden tours. Each of us that goes on these tours, count the day lost, you don't learn something new. And I always learn something new on these garden tours. Some specific things that I look for container plants, things that are just blooming beautifully in these people's containers that maybe I wouldn't have thought of. And then the other thing I look for is perennials combination. How have people designed their perennial gardens? Or are there some perennial types that I haven't tried before that, boy, they're blooming so beautifully, I got to have some of those? Or are there unique annuals that they're doing? Shrubbery, the way that they've located their shrubbery. And we mentioned the artwork. I'm always fascinated at how people put a piece of art or equipment or unique something, a sundial, or how they've designed things to give a little more life to it. Maybe it's a statue or something put in just that right location so that it brings the whole thing together. And so those are some of the things that I look for. Now, things that really help people, tour attendees, get the most out of a tour. For example, I like to take a notebook, and something firm enough that I can actually write on it, a notebook, and then jot down names. Not all plants are always labeled, but many are. sometimes they are. I know that's encouraged, to label especially unique things so that tour goers can write them down. So take along a notebook and pencil to jot things down. And photos are allowed, correct?
Oh, yeah.
In
Encouraged.
these.
Yep.
Yep, they're encouraged. And so in a spot that you can't really jot down what that arrangement is, to take a photo of it for your memory. And so that works very, very well. And the other thing, of course, too, that we can look at, I always look at, are there pleasing curves in the landscape? What type of edging have they used? Are they using something unique that would be fun to do? Even though we maybe can't or wouldn't want to duplicate their yard in our own yard, maybe there's little parts of it that they've designed uniquely. Maybe it's a little corner that they've done, and I can put that in the corner of our yard. So there's so much. If you just kind of open yourself to learning what these yards have and what makes them beautiful, and there are kind of certain themes, I suppose, artistic qualities that kind of are in many of these, just the way that they're put together. And if we just allow ourselves to kind of absorb that, I think that will help in our own gardening once we get back to our own homes.
Right.
Is there anything like with this tour, I know it's not a competition, but is there anything like viewer's choice or anything like that where at the end you announce or something like that?
We haven't incorporated anything like that at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I think the tour is its own reward.
Yeah.
The homeowner is obviously there and they're able to talk about things, but are other master gardeners who are putting on the show, are they present too to kind of, because I mean, obviously if you have a couple different groups of people in your yard, the homeowner's not able to talk to everybody.
John.
Yep. So the homeowners are encouraged to be there. And then we have master gardener volunteers at each home for the duration to help check in for ticket holders, and then they get kind of briefed on the yard. So they make sure to check out, make sure to see this point or that
certain features.
Yep. So they're become familiar with the yards as well.
And then are the I know that this is put on by master gardeners. Are there master gardeners who are part of this tour? Are there master gardeners whose houses we'll go see? Because obviously next year, if Don's on the tour, there's one then. Are there any this year?
This year, I don't believe so.
I don't think so. Unless,
I don't believe this year that there are
last year. Yes, I think all, if not almost all, were master gardeners. But this year, I think we've got a fresh batch of non-master gardeners.
Nice, fun.
But yeah,
exactly. Mm-hmm. So what's nice? Speaking of the master gardeners. Okay, when you get your email as to what these house locations are, after you've purchased your ticket, you get the email telling you where these locations are. When you pull up to each house, there will be a table there with master gardeners there to greet you and answer any questions that you might have. And so, yes, the NDSU Master Gardeners are a visible presence right there at the front of each of these houses.
Yeah, and we'll have information on how to become a Master Gardener, too, if you're interested when you attend. Very
cool. Well, let's take another break. When we come back, more with the Red River Valley Garden Tour.
If you're loving this podcast, be sure to check out our full lineup. From news and local politics to sports and true crime, find your next great listen right now at inforum.com/podcasts. That's inforum.com/podcasts.
All right, we're back with Rachel Saylor. She is one of the coordinators for the Red River Valley Garden Tour, which is coming up July 17th and 18th from 1 to 7. And what days of the week are those again?
Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay, so midweek. That'll be good. How excited are you for this? I mean, how big of a deal is this for the master gardeners? Obviously, master gardeners have a lot of things going on throughout the year, but this has got to be kind of one of the bigger things. I mean, especially as far as, like Don was saying earlier, to become a master gardener, the part of that is that you're giving back and you're doing some education and doing some visibility things.
Yeah, it's fun to get the whole gardening community together for a couple of days and to appreciate what we can grow in our relatively short growing season. And for the master gardeners on the committee, it's fun to see a year's work, kind of come to fruition with the days of the tour. So
Exactly. And in fact, the committee and its sponsors, those that do sponsor these tours, are very committed, as said in kind of a mission statement, fostering a strong gardening community by providing educational opportunities and showcase the hard work of local homeowners and organizations. And of course, this is such a great way to show that, yes, this is a wonderful area in which to garden and grow things. And of course, I've said this my whole life. And these tours are positive reinforcement. I mean, these yards are beautiful. Last year's were awesome. This year's are going to be great. And it just shows we can do this. Like I've always said, I don't want to garden in Alabama, because gardening here is so awesome. And these tours just showcase this so very well. And so it's really great. It's great, Rachel, that you've tackled this along with your master gardeners. And gosh, last year was well attended by, was it, how many tickets were sold?
300
last year.
Yep.
And this year, we had set a cap last year at 300 because we weren't sure the first year. We didn't want to overwhelm yards.
We were a little nervous.
The first year, but it was such a resounding success. And so this year we've increased the amount of tickets. And because we saw that the tour attendance was spread out over the yards enough, not all 300 pounced on the same yard at the same time. And so they were spread out enough. So this year we've increased the amount of tickets that can be sold. So, gosh.
Yep, and offering the day of ticket sales, which is new this year as well. So,
and you talked a little bit about like where proceeds go. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So each year the committee will vote on a gardening nonprofit. This year we chose the Northern Plains Botanical Garden Society. So they're located up in North Fargo near the old Yunker Farm.
Last year was the Growing Together Community Gardens.
Right. Yep. And so we featured one of their gardens on the tour. You had a chance to get a tour of that. So this year you have an open invitation to visit the Botanic Garden up in North Fargo. We'll have some extra information there about grape growing in North Dakota. One of our sponsors is the North Dakota Grape and Wine Association. So they've provided us with some information on that, and we'll have some from Extension as well.
So that alone will be valuable. So in addition to seeing all these wonderful yards, then making the stop up at the Northern Plains Botanic Garden Society, a person will be able to see that. And part of that up there is called a fruit orchard. Mm-hmm. And so getting information about how to grow a grapevine or more in your backyard, that alone will be well worth it.
Well, just the Botanical Society, the space up there is really so much fun to walk around. Everything's so well labeled, but then there's so many different things to see. I don't have kids, but I love the Alphabet Garden. Mm-hmm. I thought that is such a fun thing. Mm-hmm. The kind of the establishing that fruit garden or the orchard, I think, or whatever.
Right.
But that's relatively recent, in the last couple of years, but that's really coming along pretty nicely, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. The edible forest, I believe.
Edible forest. Okay.
Yeah, edible forest. Yeah. That alone is well worth a trip up there to see.
You said that you remember your mom being on the Stroptimus tour. Mm-hmm. I take it you got into gardening because you were raised around it?
Yeah. Yep. Of course, not when I was a kid, though. I didn't think that was very cool.
Right.
But now, yeah.
But what things do you remember from your mom's garden that other people like that now maybe you... What things stuck out to you, and what inspired you out of your mom's garden?
Well, I know she's going to listen to this too.
We've got her now.
Yeah. I think one thing that she does well is incorporating annuals to fill in space. I remember particularly that year she had a lot of zinnias, which is an relatively easy thing to throw down seeds and thin, and they will just magically start flowering for you, it seems like. She would say that she doesn't really have a design, or she doesn't know, I don't really know. I just plant whatever. And I think that's okay. And that's one thing that I took away from last year's. You just have to start. Like you just throw some plants in the ground and they will probably grow. And if not, replace them, or in a couple of years you can move them. So I think the biggest takeaway is just start.
Yeah,
that is so true. Experience is the best teacher. Just start in and see what works for you.
Yeah, it's an experiment.
And go from there.
Yeah. I think I got hung up even in my own garden of trying to, come up with the perfect design of the height and the colors.
Or to do things right.
Yeah, to do things right. I think that's an easy place to get stuck. So as
or
long
to
as
be
you have
concerned that you aren't doing it right, and then it limits you.
Yeah, so have the good soil, the right light, right watering technique, and
Learn as you go.
Learn as you go. And if you don't
Listen
like
to
where it is anymore,
we all work. We all learn.
Yeah.
We all learn together. Exactly.
So the Red River Valley Garden Tour, it's on Wednesday, July 17th and Thursday, July 18th from 1 to 7 p.m. Tickets are $15, and those are available through, if you look up the group's Facebook site. Yep. And what about kids or is there separate children's tickets?
Nope, I'd love for kids to come with their parents or whomever.
What we were just saying, that's how you get started.
Yep. So 12 and under, we're not requiring tickets for, so they just have to come with a ticket holder. So.
Yeah, and it'll be fun. I'm sure some of those kids would love, especially like you were talking about the person who's kind of implementing some old farm equipment. It'd be fun to see, that incorporated into a garden, and especially for little kids.
I can't wait
or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited, and that time is going to be here before we know it.
It will be. It will be.
17 days.
Anything else that people should know about this year?
We're just excited, and we're ready to plan for 2025. So if you're on the tour and you're thinking, I think my yard could be on the tour, we want to hear from you.
And you don't have to be a master gardener.
You don't have to be a master gardener, and it's really
the
not.
Master gardeners do the coordinating, and just anyone with a yard that you're proud of. Yeah, apply.
Yeah, and we encourage gardens of all types. They don't have to be your traditional flower garden necessarily.
If I can overcome my fear, anyone can of being on a tour.
Well, this is great, Rachel. Thank you very much for coming by.
Yeah, it's been great to see you again, Rachel.
Thank you.
And Don, if people have questions for you either about the upcoming tour, as you are a master gardener, or about their yard, if they want to send you pictures and say, "Is my yard worthy of being on the garden tour?" What's the best way to reach you?
That'd be perfect. I'd forward those on to the committee, or any questions. Donald.Kinzler, spelled KINZLER at ndsu.edu.
All right. Well, thanks
for everyone that has written in. It's always great to hear from podcast listeners.
It's great to hear from listeners. Yeah.
Everyone have a good week.